Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Trash Deck Thursday, One Piece edition. Now, as we always mention, there are no trash decks when it comes to One Piece. It's more of a trash matchup for a deck in theory. And as we talked about this week, we do have Film Kid. Now, Film Kid is designed to beat Red. It's designed to beat Luffy and Whitebeard. That's why it did so well. But I'm still going to see exactly how Luffy plays into it, because the whole point of their deck is to have the unblockable Luffy that can swing and then restand, and also swarm the board with a bunch of characters. So I want to see exactly how it goes when, you're able to deplete them of resources and the board, as well as use Monkey D. Luffy in order to use its unblockable effect. So this is the list that we're going to play. It's the typical list that, we messed with. We've seen on the channel before. It is kind of hard playing new decks in One Piece just because it's not the most simple with only 2 sets being out. There's really only a certain amount of cards, so until more sets come out, some decks might be repetitive, and I'm sorry about that, but it at least gets the content out so you guys can see how possible matchups go. This is the typical list that we're playing. For Otama, for Nami, for Robin, for Zoro, for Whitebeard, for Curly, for Vista, for Makino, 4 Masseuse. It doesn't really come up in the matchup for it, so it's more of a 2k counter. 3 Gordon, 3 Monkey D. Luffy, 2 Red Hawk. It is good for KOing the Bart, but it doesn't really KO anything else. Radical Beam, just because it's the 4k counter for when they serve, a ton of board presence. We have the Jet Pistols, and then we also have Diablo, in case we want to go through a Luffy and swing for 15k, potentially with Leader for game. So this is the game that we're playing, the deck that we're playing. The game is against my buddy Ryan. He mains Whitebeard, but he's been testing the Film Kid list. So we got a best of 3 in, and I just chose to use the best game, which, showcases what Red Luffy could possibly do in the matchup. I will say Red Luffy isn't favored in the matchup at all. We played quite a few games, and I lost most of them, but I feel like this is the best game that you guys can see. So as always, thank you so much for coming by. If you do enjoy today's video, remember to smash that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's Final Standings Friday. Enjoy the gameplay. Let's see. Our curve is better on the 135, so I think we'll go for that. That hand isn't very good. We don't have many searchers, and sadly, we don't have a turn 1 play either. So we can get rid of the Bart if he plays it with Vista. And then following turn on 5, we have Curly. We'll just have to see. Okay, so we can do a 5k into 6k, apply pressure. So there's the 5. And if he plays Punk Gibson, there's no secondary effect for it. It's just a plus 4,000, so I'm not too stressed. And if he wants to dump cards, all of the cards in the deck kind of work off of Luffy's effect, so except for a few of the 2Ks, so I'm not too upset if he chooses to block, because there's a chance he could dump combo pieces. So yeah, so we'll attach the Rested, and we'll just swing 6, counters that. So he does have a low hand size. There's the Bonnie. He is going to be able to swing 5k. And then he could restand if he wanted to. It all depends on what he gets off this Bonnie. So, yeah, we're going to have to figure this out. So we're going to be at 5 next turn. If this Zoro lives, if he only swings 5, we can counter it with the Curly. And start applying some more pressure. But, so we drew Basil Hawkins. So there's the 7k swing. Let's see, being at 5 next turn, I'm going to let this go, because with being at 5, I can still play Curly into Zoro too, and then Curly can possibly grab me the Gordon, so I'm fine with that. So, or Otama works too, because Otama Jet Pistol does get rid of the blocker Luffy, so I'm not too upset by that. So we'll just swing 5k, and then we'll just put some more pressure, and we'll swing 4-6. So he blocks that. That's fine. He's just depleting his hand at this point, so I'm not too stressed. Next turn, he can get the Luffy down, but we do have Otama plus Jet Pistol. So There's the Basil Hawkins. Basil Hawkins is a little bit annoying. Now, if he swings 6, we do have the Mass Deuce to counter to 7, so it all depends on how this goes. So 6k swing at leader. We will take that. No jet pistol trigger, unfortunately. Let's see. So he's going to be at 5 cards next turn if we don't attack at life. And then if he plays 3 down, that leaves him with 2. And if we deal 2 points of damage, he'll have 4 cards in hand. I think we're safe to just jet pistol this, especially considering how our board presence will look. Because then we'll have 3 Dawn left, which means that we can leave 2 open for the Red Hawk. So, yeah, that's what we'll do. So we'll jet pistol, and then we can just go 7k, 7k. I'm not too upset about that. I don't remember how much power the Bart has. It might be good to use the Mass Deuce, but I'm not too stressed. So we're going to swing, we'll just swing 7 into 7, because then also, if he does play the Luffy character, he is going to have to get rid of at least 3 cards. That's the only downside with the Luffy deck, or the Kid film deck, is that, you know, you get a bunch of bodies on board, which is great, but you also deplete yourself of a lot of resources in your hand, so it's kind of give and take. So, okay, so now if he plays the Luffy, he's only going to have 1 card in hand, which means that he'll only have a 6k swing, so there's a few more things that we can actually kind of deal with. Okay, so there's Bonnie. So Bonnie can grab him. I mean, he could grab Punk Gibson. I mean, that could be a little bit annoying, but depending on how he plays it out, we can Vista. We can Otama Vista the Brook, or we can get rid of the Bart. I don't think the Bart is as necessary. Rather than getting, yeah, we can get rid of the, oh, that's tough. Okay, so Monkey D. Luffy, and then he also got Bonnie. Okay, so this will just counter out of, I'm not afraid of Punk Gibson now. There's no Dawn open, so I'm free to swing on these Bonnies and then also use the okay. So we'll KO the Bonnies because those are draw potential, and then if we get rid of the Brook right now, that works with 4 Dawn, and then we'll have 5 left to work with, which means we can curly still swing 7 and have 2 open for Red Hawk. So that sounds good to me. I'm going to play the curly first just to see what we get. So we get another 2k, which is good. So then we can Otama Vista, and then we can swing 7 and leave 2 open for Red Hawk. And then with the Red Hawk, we can KO the Bart on his swing back. So I'm not too stressed about that. And now with his draw, depending on how things go, he's going to get rid of even more cards in his hand. So I'm not too stressed about that. So we know that he drew the Luffy. And it all depends on if he has, you know, another Bart to play off of it. If he doesn't lose Luffy's effect and it's just the blocker, we still have a ton of board presence. Okay, so he decides to swing 6k at leader. He has 2 open, which means Punk Gibson could be a thing. I think the best thing for me to do right now is to get rid of this Bart. That way he can't untap possibly 2 things next turn. So we'll go no blocker, and we'll just get rid of this. We'll combo out, because then we don't take a point of damage either. And the best way to play against the Kid is to not stress too much about how everything else is going to go. So we do have Luffy. So I think what we do is we can attach 2, swing 7, force the Gibson or the life. Because if he has Gibson and 2 2Ks, then there's not much he can do. And then as far as tapping something, you know, there's not very much that he can tap that, you know, kind of hurts us. And if he decides to use the Punk Gibson, that's fine. And then we can do Luffy. We'll play for 5. We can attach 2 Dawn to him. And then, okay, so there's the 7. So he goes 8. Now let's see. We could get rid of this Luffy. Let's see. If he has Punk Gibson plus a 2k, That's 11, 12, 13, which means that that's all the Dawn there. And then he can't combo that. I think what I'm gonna do, I could swing 11 because 11 forces the Punk Gibson plus the 2k anyways, and then that leaves 3 Dawn to where we can swing with a Gordon or anything else like that. So that's fine with me. Or I'm sorry, that's a 10k. I meant to swing 11, but it is what it is. It's all good. Okay, so that forces the Punk Gibson. And then we just go... what's the best way to put this? Let's see. We could go 2 on the curly, and then we just leave 1 open just to, you know, help us with some possible math. It is going to be annoying that this monkey, the Luffy, did survive, but that's my own fault for swinging, you know, 11. Okay, so we're in an okay position. He only has 1 card in hand, and if he wants to swing Luffy, you know, Luffy into things, that's fine. We have 2 2Ks in hand, so it really depends on what he draws and how his hand plays out. He can't double swing. Okay, so there's the Zoro. So he could do... He can swing with Luffy, but it's probably best if he doesn't because of the block potential. You know, it saves him from the following turn that we have. Okay, so there's a 9k swing, so we'll just have to let this go. I'm not too stressed about it. And he does leave 2 open, just in case maybe a Punk Gibson. Okay, so he attaches the 2 and then just swings 9. So this we have to take. I'm fine with that. So he has no cards in hand, and we did draw the Gordon, so we can't actually deal with this Luffy. So we will just use that real quick. We'll attach the rest to Dawn, and we'll just swing 4 into 4. So that gets rid of that. Ah, my eye. And then we can go 5, 7, 9, just to kind of seal the deal for the following turn. Well, it'd be 5, 7, 8. I think, let's see, if we play the Luffy, attach 1, then we could go 7, 6. I like the possibility of the 7, 8 going through. So we'll go 7, 8. And then we'll just go here, and we'll just go 8. So he counters out of that, so that's fine. We're not in lethal range by any means this turn, because he can double swing and swing, but that's only 3 points of life, and then next turn we just go all in. So I'm not too stressed about how this turn's gonna go, because especially if he chooses to double swing, which probably isn't the right play, he has to dump the card in his hand, which means he has no defense potential for the following turn. So okay, so there's 2 Dawn on Zoro for an 8k swing potentially. So 8k for the curly. We'll let it go. And then there's an 11k leader or swing on our leader. I'm fine with that. Okay, so now we can see how this goes. So he leaves 2 open. If that's a Punk Gibson, then that's a 10k. So we could... Let's see. If I double Luffy, the 6k swing, he blocks. I need to get 3 attacks through. And I think when it comes down to it, playing the new gate might be the best bet. I mean, I could actually go for lethal here. Correction. Because I could go 2 Dawn here, 2 Dawn here. That's 4 Dawn. Luffy costs 5, that's 9. So we can do a 6 into a 7k. And if he does Punk Gibson, then he can Punk Gibson the Vista. So yeah, I like that. Because then if he punk Gibsons, we still have the line of play to swing 6k with no cards in hand into a 7k swing with the Luffy. So, which means that even if he draws a 2k, we're still fine. So then we can just swing for 5k, force a card out of hand, and then we can go 5k again. This will force the second card out of his hand, and then we have Luffy to swing 7k. So there's the punk Gibson, so that's fine. So then we play Luffy, we attach the Dawn, and we'll just attach another, and we'll just swing 8k. And that's the game.